So, good evening everyone. Today is Wednesday the 17th of December. So as usual, Wednesday evening, we are here to practice meditation with some reflections and guidance. One of the core principles of the Buddha's teaching is that avoiding any unwholesome activities through the physical action, verbal actions, and mental actions, but to cultivate wholesome actions through the mind, through the speech, and through the body. And purify our mind. This is the main teachings of the Buddha. Nothing more, nothing less. The entire Buddha's teachings is based on these three principles. And these three principles are interconnected. In a short form, not to do anything that is not beneficial, do the beneficial things, and purify the mind. A purification of the mind is needed because that leads to other two actions, the physical actions and the mental actions. Mind is the forerunner, is the chief, the boss, that thinks and that orders us to speak or us to do physically any other actions. And our mind is always influenced by other things from the one very early morning that we woke up. Sounds that we hear, things that we see, smells that we take, or things that we eat, and bodily contact. These influences the mind to think, and the mind to engage, and mind to entertain. And oftentimes, this mind always goes towards unbeneficial, are driven by greed, hatred, and delusion. And that's the way leading towards the greedy mind or a resentment. And any speech or any action that we speak becomes unwholesome. And that is the reason we have to be very mindful of this mind, how this mind is thinking, how this mind is engaged and how this mind is perceiving things. So as a result, in order to tame this mind, the first thing that we have to be consider or think about is the sila, the precepts, starting from the 5 precepts. That is, not to do any harm or killing, not to steal, not to have a sexual misconduct, not to lie, and not to take substances that clouds the mind. The moment when we physically avoid these 5 things, that actually helps to see things clearly. Whenever things comes to contact with our senses, the mind becomes more resilient, mind becomes more strong and connected. Because mind always go out and explore, always want to do this and want to do that, never stops with one thing but wander around, entertaining its desire. And that's why practice of a meditation is one of the key factors to tame this mind. There are 2 ways to tame this mind. One, observing the sila. Physically observing the sila helps to keep the mind within the boundary, and mind slowly slows down and not engage but observe the things when it comes to contact with the mind or through the senses. And the second way is the practice of a meditation. And in the practice of a meditation, we give object to work with so that the mind will be concentrating on the object, intentionally giving object to work with, and mentally reciting or verbalizing or following that object. The more mind settles with the object, mind becomes calmer, collected. With that settled mind, and then this mind becomes the malleable, workable. It's like carefully prepared field. They can plant anything. And it gives us the strong mind and a mind will gain the power. That's like shallow water doesn't have electricity, but once concentrated, this water and a release from concentrated doors, then that creates the electricity. Similar to our mind, when mind is scattered, it doesn't have any power and doesn't know what the right thing to do and the right thing that we must do. So, when our mind is concentrated and carefully observed, releasing through the concentrated mind, then we got the mind power. And this power we can channel it to see things, and that comes to contact with our senses and how this is connecting to the mind, and how this converts into the greed, hatred, delusion, and the lust and resentment, and jealousy, animosity, and so on. And in the meantime, non-greed, non-hatred, loving kindness, compassion, and joy, and equanimity on a positive form also develops. So the trained mind always helpful to create the positivity within us and understanding things as they truly are, compared to the untrained mind, which always shallow, scattered, unknown, and always driven by greed and hatred. So in the practice of a meditation, so as a result we give one object to work with to begin, until we gain a concentrated mind. Without gaining concentration of the mind, there is no fruit, no wisdom. And without wisdom, we cannot liberate, and we can't understand what we really want to be, or what we really want to know, what we really are. So first practice is to gain the concentration by observing an object or adopting an object to work with, and working persistently and patiently, continuously, until the mind becomes one with the object. Doesn't matter which object we use, but here we are using a breath-related object, either the breath at the nose or the abdomen. So working either of these for some time to gain the concentration, the mind absorbs, adapts, settles, and gain the concentration. With that concentration, then gradually you can expand further on to other objects, other realities, particularly the reality of our own physical body, reality of our own sensations and feelings and emotions, and the reality pertaining to the nature. As we develop reflecting on these physical body, feelings and emotions, and the mental states and the natural phenomena, then gradually that helps us to understand that these things are impermanent. Our physical body is impermanent. It doesn't matter how hard, how much we care about it. It decays, it get ill, and eventually it also dies away. We have no control over it at all. It's always changing. So with our feelings, emotions, these are also conditioned and always changing. The understanding of these changes helps us to detach ourselves and then seeing, thinking, and understanding of these in the right way. So with that we are able to see things as they truly are, and will not take it as ourselves, will not take it as we are, but just seeing it as a condition created, and about to free ourselves. So, with this, first of all, adopt the primary object, the breath-related object, and working with that object again and again. Suppose you are adopting the breath in your nose, then concentrating on the nose, noticing incoming breath, outgoing breath. Whenever mind goes off the breath, then again gently bring it back. And again, if it goes back to the thinking, thoughts, the feelings, the pains, and again observing, and then gently bring it back to the breath again, similar to the abdominal rising, falling. Whenever you're using it, be mindful of rising and falling of abdomen. And if the mind wanders off, then again noticing that and gently bring it back to this rising and falling of abdomen. So we use this and continue practice until we gain the concentration. And meanwhile, a glimpse of this impermanence of the nature, we will be able to recognize slowly and gradually we improve in the practice. So with this in mind, so let's practice meditation.